Hello again, it's Noob, and here we have a Banham M 2002, I think. It's a dimple lock, 12 pins. The pins touch each other, and it's a really nice lock. Relatively rare and very expensive, new and even second-hand. And there's the key. One issue that you might have if you collect locks like this is getting a key cut. Nobody but Banham will cut the keys, and Banham won't cut the keys unless you're the registered owner. So you need the ownership transferred along to you if you do buy the locks, and that doesn't really ever happen. They won't even cut the keys if you have a key card. I think that they just phase it out and use an electronic system now. I could be wrong on those points, but that's what I've gathered anyway. So what do we do for a lock collector? And we have an old lock like this, and we want another key for it. Well, maybe, just maybe, if we're lucky, we could do something like modify another dimple lock key like this, and yeah, that's what I'm thinking about doing. So this is from a Yale Platinum. It's clearly a little bit longer, but we can file that off, I'm sure, if we had to. It's clearly a little bit fatter as well, don't we? You can see there, so just a little bit, but again, I think we can file or sand that flat as well. In terms of the dimples, well, I'm thinking if we mark off where these holes should be using a scribe or something like that, and then we can drill little pilot holes all the way through, and then maybe use a thicker drill tip like this, going slowly, and drill down. Now, the way that I'll tell whether I'm there or not can be done relatively simply, actually, because you can take this whole barrel out from the inside, and you can check whether let's move that out of the way. Check whether it's cut to the right depth, because these pins will fall into the, well, they'll either be pushed up into or fall into the shear line. So we just have to probably do it very, very slowly. All right. So, well, we'll give it a go. A bit of a montage, and yeah, let's crack on. So here we are so far. I think the holes are okay. A bit worried that some of them aren't perfect. They do seem to align to this key though, so I don't know if I can do an overlay, but something like that. Do seem to align nicely. What I want to do now is just have a look at that key and mark where I can just go relatively deep. So here, and a little bit there, and all the rest will require just a tiny amount. So if I just use these guide holes as a way to drill a little deeper down, and then we'll probably just have to sort of fettle it by hand afterwards. So yeah, I think we'll just give it a go. I'll drill down to about where I think and keep testing it in the lock, and we'll see where I get to. I won't try and capture all of that on camera just because it's really fiddly and will require so much back and forth. It's unbelievable. But yeah, I'm going to use a bigger drill bit now and just drill down to slightly deeper depths on those, and then I'll try and flip it over, do the same thing on the other side, and see where we get to. And here we are, look. This is the key, it's turning. You can see that we've reached shear line. And that's a success, right? No, really, really far from it. This is just not right. I would not trust this key in this lock ever. Yes, I managed to get it to turn, but what? Hear that click? That's because to get it to turn, I actually used something to just push down the pins a little bit. Why? Well, look at that. There we go. Bit of a mess. Now, was that my fault? Well, as an operator, not so much, but I just don't have clearly the correct setup and the right sort of drill bits and press at the right angles to make this work. What do I mean by that? Well, if I chose a tip which was a drill tip which was right to cut holes of sort of this size, then that's brilliant and it would remain strong. But because the drill tips themselves only have a very small chisel point and the rest is straight, what you end up doing is you actually, to get the depth required, you end up have a sort of, when you sort of see it here actually, just there, is that this part is straight. So I had to then use a larger drill tip to sort of almost countersink to make sure that the pins didn't canyon and it didn't stick in the lock. The only downside is, of course, that the material on this key as well has grooves in, and where those grooves were, once you get to a certain depth, it just tears out on you. If this was solid brass, instead of having these like grooves for the warding, maybe that would have worked. But you can see all along here, where you have that groove, the metal just tore out. Now, I'm not saying if I didn't have a really nice drill press and a bigger selection of drill bits and I went really slow and I took my time, I couldn't make this work. But even then, I would worry about how weak this key would turn out to be. You can see I'm just like flexing it a little bit now. I don't want to snap it exactly because I'll have to take a picture of it in a minute. But I'm just not convinced that unless you had something made of a decent metal, I'm thinking maybe like a Sargent or a Carber or a Kiso key maybe would work as a blank. I might give it another go, but certainly these brass ones here, they're just not designed for this. So it's a combination of probably the tools I was using, but mostly the blank itself, which just does not play well in terms of being able to cut these depths. But you can see how close I was. You can see how very, very close I was to getting this right. But even if I did get it right, even if it did turn, there's no way I would trust this blank. I just wouldn't trust it in a lock like this. It's most likely to snap off, and then removing that would just be an absolute nightmare, especially if you had some pin canyoning. So I'm afraid that this video is going to be relegated to my side channel, which you're probably watching it on now, just because it wasn't really a success. But I think there's a lot there to learn from, and certainly if I could find a better blank, I might have another go at it. I think it's sad that I got so close. You can see how close I got. You know, but it just isn't close enough. And yeah, certainly a blank with these grooves in is not right. It just weakens it way too much. Anyway, look, I learned something. I hope you did too. And I think that it's never a complete failure. It's certainly a failure, but it's not a complete failure if you learn something from it. And I learned something from it, and it was actually not an unfun activity to do in the afternoon. So yeah, well, I hope you enjoyed that. If you liked the video, leave a like. If you have a comment or any suggestions, honestly, anything you can think of that I could do to make this work better, do you think, or a blank that you would recommend, or maybe you've made a key yourself for a Banham and you want to share your experience of it, please do leave a comment. It really is very it's something I read anyway. I read all the comments and I reply to as many as I can. But if you're not a subscriber, then please also do consider subscribing. It really helps this side channel out. And of course, thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.